More Pacers voodoo magic as their only lead comes at the very end of the game. They win game one of the NBA Finals, 111-110. Andrew, what were your first thoughts from this game?
Yeah, well, the Pacers played a pretty terrible first half just in general. They were really sloppy with the ball. I think they were minus 17 at one point in the turnover battle. But I mean, if it's close and you're the Indiana Pacers, you always feel like you have a shot in this game, especially with Tyrese Halliburton. No matter what type of game he's having, he can be having the worst game possible, and it just feels like they're going to find a way to pull these games out. Miles Turner was a huge part in this game. It feels like one of the best 3-point shooting big men, or just shooting big men in the league. Andrew Nembhard played his part. He had the defensive stop on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the possession before Tyrese Halliburton made the go-ahead shot, and just what a crazy game, especially down the stretch. I mean, the Thunder were up 15 with a couple minutes left to go in this game, and it just felt like it was coming as soon as Obi Toppin started knocking down three-pointers, as soon as Miles Turner started knocking down three-pointers, and as soon as they cut the lead down in single digits, it felt like this game was like in reach for the Indiana Pacers, and they snatched it just like they've been doing it all like postseason long. They mentioned a stat on the broadcast like maybe 4 or 5 times that the Pacers were 7-1 coming into this game in clutch time, and they showed exactly why. They're now 8-1, and Tyrese Halliburton, when it ball in anybody's hands at this point with a couple of seconds left to go, it feels like Tyrese Halliburton has proven he's that guy. He did it against the Cavs, he's done it against the Knicks, and now he's done it against the Thunder.
Yeah, it's unreal stuff. I think what we're seeing from him in these playoffs at this point, we're starting to get into all-time playoff legend type of moments for him. Not saying like, the greatest playoff performer ever, but this run itself is getting pretty crazy now that it seems to have dipped into the NBA Finals. Okay, so you said a lot of different things there. Obi Toppin was obviously great for the Pacers. There was a certain moment in this game when they were kind of looking for scoring. They had all those turnovers in the first half. His shots were there for the entire game, and that was something really good and really good to rely on for the Indiana Pacers. They had TJ McConnell, I believe, as the top scorer in the first half. He was really good in the first half. They needed some sort of reliability whenever they were just simply turning the ball over so many times, but they have 19 turnovers in the first half. They, before this game, had 12.7% of their possessions end in turnovers in these playoffs. That was actually the third best. And the Thunder strength is turning the ball over. That happened way too many times for them, but they were still in this game. They're in this game like it felt like the entire game, even though when they were down, I believe OKC's biggest lead was like 15 or whatever. And at certain points in the first half, it was 13. They were always in this game. They got scoring when they needed it, and it was so clutch. And we knew that the Thunder were really good on defense, and they flexed their muscles a bit, but them just staying in the game was so crucial, so great for the Indiana Pacers. When we take a look at the Thunder, what do they need to improve on? What did you like from them in this first game?
Yeah, I mean, just capitalizing off the Indiana mistakes. I think that off of those turnovers in the second half, they'd only given up what I think the
Nine.
9
Points
points
off
off.
turnovers. Yep.
No, 9 points off turnovers in the first half. That can't happen when you're forcing so many of them. They had 19 in the first half. They finished like with 25 for the game. And OKC, like you've got to be worried that you force Indiana into minus 18 on the turnover differential, a team that doesn't turn the ball over, and you still can't find a way to win that game. It just felt like they never had their patent third quarter run where they just blow a team out of the water. Every time the Pacers or anytime the Thunder decided that they were going to go on a run, Rick Carlisle made the right decisions, put the right people in the game, called the right timeouts, slowed the game down for the Pacers, and it just kept them in that game. I feel like he made a lot of good strategical moves, and it just felt like the Thunder never pulled away when they should have, especially in that first half, and then they could have done it again in the third quarter when the crowd was just erupting, and they never took advantage of that. And if you are going into these next couple games, obviously we know the Thunder have blowout potential and they have scores everywhere, but it needs to show up. This can't if you have any less than a 20-point lead anytime in the fourth quarter, I feel like it's not safe at this point because the Pacers have just shown time and time again that they'll come back, and it was 15 a day against what should have the best regular season team in the league and what has looked like one of the best, if not the best team in the playoffs so far.
This definitely just shows you that the Pacers, while they may not feel like a championship team, they certainly, after this game one, you got to think that nothing is safe, as you mentioned, and it's really starting to get to the point where this needs to be strongly considered. But yes, I'm glad that you brought up the points off turnovers. When you take a look at the box score, you're automatically thinking with that turnover differential that the Thunder were able to capitalize because they were up the entire game, but it was actually just the complete opposite. Like they just simply did not have enough. And that's part of like the Pacers defense as well being really talented. Do you want to jump in?
That turnover differential would just indicate that the Thunder won this game by 30 plus points. Like that, you
Yeah.
don't lose a turnover battle by double digits. 17 turnovers was they were minus 17 and they won this game. Like I just wanted to jump in there because I think that's so interesting. The fact that the Thunder usually are so good about capitalizing off turnovers, and they if you just look at the box scores and you start from turnovers and you think that's the most glaring stat, you'd think that the Thunder team won this game by at least double digits, if not 20 plus points.
I think you were kind of saying that the entire game, really, and it just felt like, wow, the Pacers are hanging in. The Thunder aren't able to pull away, and the longer that you do that to a team that feels like it's made of that championship DNA, the more trouble that you're in. And the Pacers just ended up making them pay. There's a couple things, obviously, for this game that the Thunder definitely need to make sure that they can fix going into the next game. While the shot differential was still there, they didn't shoot all that well from the floor, but they shot pretty decently from three. They had an ultra aggressive Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that was good for them. I'm cool with him taking 30 shots in the game if Chet Holmgren can't show up and Jalen Williams shoots 6 of 19. Obviously, we're relying a lot on Shai in that matter, but there's got to be some extra scoring that comes from the rest of this team. And I definitely think that they will be able to get it. Lou Dort was amazing in the minutes that he played in this game, but they need those guys to step up. We always know if those two guys don't end up playing well, it's going to open the door for the Pacers. And Tyrese Halliburton had the entire game to get going. That's unacceptable if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder and you're forcing that many turnovers.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to Shea for a second, but I completely agree on your
Yeah.
last point. Yeah, I think that 30 shots is definitely a lot, especially if he's not getting the free throw line like that. But I mean, he wasn't finding offense from a lot of different places. Shea had like a very an abysmal game one, and just Jalen Williams like had like the clutch steal that led to a dunk that put them up, and it felt like they were going to pull away at that point. But then he just like wasn't there for them like for pretty much the whole game. Almost took 20 shots, and only made 6 of them, like you mentioned. And yeah, like the rest of the Thunder team just didn't really show up beside Shea, and was forced to do too much. And then I think that like if you look at just the field goal shooting, like he obviously he didn't have a bad game, but Andrew Nemhard, I wanted to highlight him again because we talked about him at the end of the Knicks series about how he was so good against guards this whole postseason against Donovan Mitchell, against Jalen Brunson, against Damian Lillard when he played in the first round of that series. Like he was good again on defense, and I just want to shout him out one more time. I know I mentioned him at the start of this, but like he had that like last like stop on Shea when that ended up being that fast break into Tyrese Halliburton's shot, and then or not technically a fast break, but you get the point I'm trying to make. And then
Yeah.
just in general, the whole game, forcing Shea to miss 16 shots out of the 30 that he attempted, that was a big part of Andrew Nemhard's defense, and it paid off in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and part of Shai's 30 shots came in the first quarter, obviously, where he had 11 or 12 shot attempts. Like he came out ultra aggressive, firing on all cylinders. So some of that was kind of curtailed as the game went on, and he was less aggressive in that matter. And some of his teammates had more of an opportunity to make a name for themselves in this game one, and they just weren't able to do it. Hartenstein, Caruso, I thought were good off the bench too in times during this game, not for the full length of the game, which was definitely the problem for them, but it's tough.
You'd think that Caruso had like a 30-20 game by the way they were calling this game. Like I swear Doris Burke and like Mike Breen, like they were going crazy every time he had a big play, which he had a couple really good steals, had played really good defense and had a couple of clutch baskets. But man, they used Caruso like 5 times over the course of like 5 minutes, and it was actually I wanted to rip my ears off at some point.
No, yeah, I understand what you mean. Okay, so going into game two, Thunder down 0-1 now. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the exact same scenario as the Knicks series, where if you lose game two, the Thunder series is like trouble. Like, I think the Thunder are a better team than the Knicks, but if they go down 2-0 and Indiana's back at home, I think that's a tough series to win. So the Thunder need this next game. They need to come out firing. They need to come out like they did in game two against the Nuggets, where they just blow the team out of the water from the start, and they just looks like Indiana has no chance. Because if this game, again, is close, even relatively late, it feels like Indiana always has a chance.
Yeah, winning 2 games on the road is definitely a good sign if you're the Indiana Pacers. I thought this would go back to Indiana tied up. I still think it will. Give me the Thunder in game 2.